Oh, can you hear me now? Let me know, Trisha, if you can hear me now. Yes. Okay, great. So I just went over all of that with no volume. Oh, the joy of live TV. Well, I guess I'll start all over again. Hi, I'm Caitlin Bandy, and this is my channel, Bandy's Books. So I was talking originally about my week. My week has been hectic. No need to apologize. That's not your fault. Thank you for telling me. I appreciate knowing because I honestly would have continued on for 30 minutes and not realized that I was on mute. So my week has been really hectic. I had a work conference at the beginning of the week that I had to go to, and we had to stay in hotels. It was like 17-hour work days. We had to be up at 4:30 a.m. to be at the event at 5, and then they often went on till 11 p.m. at night. So I don't know, in the 3 days that I was at this work conference, I think I got like 12 hours of sleep, and had to be here and there and all over the place. So it was pretty exhausting. And then it took up all of my admin time that I would usually use at work to get scheduling and financial routines and like a whole bunch of stuff done. So now I'm in this interesting predicament of trying to figure out where I'm supposed to fit the other 30 or 40 hours of work that I would do normally. So I don't know. It's just been an interesting week, which has led to me starting lots of books, but not making as much progress as I've wanted. So during my reading sprints this week, I did read more of the Queer Book of Revelations and The Bones Beneath My Skin by T.J. Klune. This was a book that I picked up in South Africa. It was like a sci-fi, deals with topics of gender identity and sexuality. And the sci-fi element of this particular book is that somehow they've discovered a way to block humans' feelings. And I don't know, I'm just not really vibing with this one. There's something about the writing style that is leaving me feeling a little bit disconnected. So I think I'm going to give this like 50 more pages. And if it doesn't start to connect more, I might just let this one go. Sad because I was really excited about it, but it's just not working so far. I have been enjoying The Bones Beneath My Skin by T.J. Klune, though. I'm about 50 pages into this, and this is very Klune feeling. It's, got immediately some quirky characters, possibly setting up for that found family sort of an environment. It might be a little more thrillery or suspenseful than I think some of his other writing has been, but I'm enjoying it. It's basically so far what I would expect from a TJ Klune book. And that's exactly why I'm reading it, because I wanted something a little cozy, something a little bit funny, something that's got some themes and interesting topics, but maybe not something that's going to like crush my heart. So far so good. I brought The Woods All Black by Lee Mandello with me to the conference, and I thought I would have time like at the end of the nights to read a little bit, but honestly, after being awake and working from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. for multiple days, there wasn't that much reading time. So I've read like maybe 15 pages of this. I read Mandello's previous book, Feed Them Silence, and really enjoyed their writing. And so I'm very excited about this. They write really nice horror novellas. And this was short, so I thought, I'll be able to like knock this out in a couple days. And haha, jokes on me. They weren't kidding when they said 17-hour days with no free time. So hopefully I'll make some progress on this week. And then today I started The Resurrectionist by A. Ray Dunlap. This is a dark academia. I got it from Aardvark a while back. I'm not the biggest dark academia fan, to be honest. It's a genre that I usually don't prioritize too much, just because I don't love reading about really rich, entitled people. And I find often dark academia centers around that. The dark academias that I've enjoyed more typically break that mold, and then thus I find them more interesting. So The Resurrectionist, the reason I decided to give this one a chance is because this is about a period of time in which they were learning about human anatomy in Scotland. And I've read other books about this topic and found it really interesting. Our main character here, I think, could possibly be unlikable, but so far he's kind of charming in kind of like a goofy way. And I think that's made this book enjoyable. He is somewhat wealthy, but he's kind of in a like position that's like humbling him a little bit. And so I do like that. I'm maybe 60 or 70 pages in, and so far I'm enjoying the writing. I also have started King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. I'm probably about halfway through that one, and I'm enjoying it, but maybe not as much as I've enjoyed some of Cosby's other works. I think he does a fantastic job of writing thrillers and like building suspense. But I with this one, I feel like there's just not a lot of emotional connection. This is essentially about a family. They own a mortuary. One brother gets into debt with some really bad people, and the other brother is really good at investing money and is going to try to like turn that money around and get them out of trouble. And everything he does just gets them more and more into trouble. Um, I think the thing that I think that Cosby does really well when he's like on his 5 stars is he connects the thriller suspense aspect with the emotional aspect. And I feel like the emotional aspect for me so far is missing in King of Ashes. It is a good suspense. I am like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to this family? How are they going to get out of debt? How are they going to get out of trouble? But I don't feel it like a gut punch. Like Razorblade Tears is one of those books that has suspense, but it's also a gut punch. And I think that's why it stands out in everybody's memory as like this shining example of what Cosby can do. And his last release, I'm spacing on the name at the moment, but his last release for me also managed to connect more of the emotion, not quite as well as Razorblade Tears, but it had more emotional impact. And I think it made it more interesting. And I just feel so far that King of Ashes is a little bit disconnected from that emotional center. So maybe that'll change. Maybe as we get into the last part of the book, there will be some things that get pulled in that make it a much more intense read. But just at this 50% point, I feel so far like it's a little bit removed from the feelings. I am also finishing up a book called A Place of Our Own by June Thomas. It is a book about 6 spaces that helped develop queer women culture. And it's really interesting so far. So I've gotten through the section that's on bars and the history of the lesbian bar. It talked a lot about a couple bars in New York City in particular, which I found really interesting. I mean, I know a little bit about bars and a little bit about restaurants from working in this industry, but in terms of like lesbian culture and how lesbian spaces specifically developed in these bars, I didn't really know much about that. I learned about the very first lesbian bar that opened and all of the trials and tribulations that the owner went through in keeping it open over the years and all the strategies that she used to make it a safe space. I just thought that was a really fascinating part of the book. And I'm actually really looking forward to getting further into the book and learning about all these different spaces. So I'm very much enjoying this nonfiction read. Really, really an interesting book. I also read a book called Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. And this was a book that I read in anticipation of this leadership experience that I went to at the beginning of the week. It was rumored that Will Guidara was going to be one of the speakers. He did end up speaking at it. He is the brains behind the hospitality at 11 Madison Park, which is one of the best restaurants in the world. It's in New York City. And just honestly, coming from the hospitality industry, it felt really interesting to me. So I picked that up. I listened to it on audiobook, and it was a really fascinating read. I thought it was going to focus on like how you can do all these crazy things to, make everyone's wildest dreams and fantasies come true. And it does talk about that to some degree. But I thought that the larger focus of the book was actually talking about how to support your employees better so that they have more wherewithal to make those grand requests happen for customers, which wasn't really what I was expecting. And I was pleasantly surprised. All too often when we talk about hospitality, we talk about just giving and giving and giving. And there's not a lot of focus on filling the cup of the person that is giving that hospitality. So I love that this book really anchors in how important it is to be a good manager, a good business owner, a good corporation, and how important it is to support the well-being of your staff. And that essentially, if you're not doing that, you can't expect them to give 5-star hospitality. I was really pleased that some of the things that I already do match a lot of what he does, but it actually also gave me some really great ideas and strategies to incorporate into my own management style, and some blind spots for me to really focus on growing. So I thought it was a really useful book. As for what I'm going to read next week, usually I would hold up a bunch of books and say, I'm going to try to read this, I'm going to try and read that. But with this stack already of books that are partially read, I'm just hoping that I can knock a couple of these off the shelf. I also am in the next round of the BookTube Prize. which I have through June. And then at the end of July, we vote on the books. So I probably am going to try to get through one of the nonfiction books for that next week, but I can't talk about those yet. Until the round is over, I'm not allowed to talk about what's in it. So, yeah, if I can clear a couple of these books off the shelf and then maybe one of the nonfiction books from the BookTube prize, I will be super satisfied. So upcoming week. So I've mentioned a couple times that June is a weird month for me. First of all, because of this week with the leadership experience and like not having any time. And then next week, I'm going home to San Diego for my birthday. My birthday is June 21st. I'm very excited to get to spend some time with my family, spend some time on the beach, maybe go ride motorcycles. Yeah, so I'll be turning 37. So exciting, marching very close to 40. And so I have 3 days at work to essentially try to catch up all the stuff that I didn't get to do this week, and then all the stuff that would need to be done for next week. So not a lot of free time, I don't think. I'm also supposed to go hiking tomorrow night with my friend up here in the local mountains. And so, I'm basically going to be, I think, for the next 3 days, burning the candle at both ends. And then I'll go to San Diego and get to decompress for a few days. And San Diego always means books. My mom and I have already planned a day to like go book shopping and drop books off at little free libraries and all that. And I already promised myself a day to just like park my ass on the sand at the beach and like not do anything. So I'm looking forward to all that. We'll go out for some good meals. I'll get to see a few of my friends and stuff. So that should be nice. I hope you have a good reading week. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it'll be a better reading week. I think I'll have more space and energy for reading. Happy birthday. Thank you so much, Trisha. I appreciate it. Happy birthday. Getting closer to 60. Awesome. 60 is the beginning of life, right? I think something that I have noticed with women in particular as they hit their 60s is there's just like this acceptance of this is who I am, and like I'm going to stop catering to what everyone wants from me, and I'm going to focus on me and what I want. And I think there's something so beautiful about that, like throwing off expectations and centering in on what you need. So I hope that that's what 60 is like for you. I hope it's a new chapter full of self-focus and self-love and time dedicated to the things that you enjoy. So birthday week, that's the plans for next week. I do plan to do a reading sprint on Thursday. Probably my mom and I will do it from a coffee shop. Actually, we did that last year for my birthday and it was really fun. We went out to a bunch of bookstores and then we stopped at a coffee shop and ran reading sprints from there. So maybe something like that. And then book of the month video is my main priority right now. Like I said, have not had a lot of time. I have written the script for it. My hope is to get it filmed and up very, very soon. So we'll see. Fingers crossed that that'll be up in the next couple days. As for other videos, I don't have much planned for next week. If I am able to get something up, it would maybe be, I shot a video recently about all the ARCs that I've been receiving the last month or two. So I'm about halfway through editing that up, and if I get it finished, I'll get that up. But I'm just don't want to promise any specific videos because I'm gone most of next week. And then I do have a live stream planned for Sunday just to do a weekly update like I'm doing now. I will probably have to do it in the morning on Sunday just because we have to drive back to Vegas on Sunday evening. So I think that's pretty much everything. I really appreciate everyone that stopped in and said hello. I hope you're all having a really great reading week. I didn't have the best reading week, but I did have a very interesting, crazy week. I think I forgot to mention too when I was like talking about the work stuff. So we did do these crazy long days and it was pretty, draining, but they did end the event with a Bruno Mars concert. So that was an interesting surprise. They rented out Raiders Stadium and had Bruno Mars perform, and then they hired in catering. So that was a pretty cool event. It was a couple hours of decompression at the end of just like a really long, exhausting week. And I really love Bruno Mars, so it was pretty cool getting to see him live in concert. So I can't say that there was nothing fun or enjoyable. It just was a really big grind to get there. So, and I'm also I'm like a weird intro extro mix, where like I really enjoy talking to people on like a one-on-one or in very small groups, and especially if it's a subject I'm really interested in. but being constantly around 14,000 people was exhausting. I felt like I was on the verge of a panic attack for about 3 days straight. Like at the end of the day, just getting home and shutting my door and locking it, and then like, don't talk to me. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to look at my phone because of the overwhelm. So, you know, but I got to see Bruno Mars, and that was really cool, and I'm grateful for that part. And it was, I mean, there was other cool parts too. We got like a pretty cool swag bag, and we did get to go out. My team got to go out to dinner on Monday night. My district went and had dinner at a nice restaurant. I got to pick out the restaurant because chef. So that was fun, but yeah. Anyways, I'm looking forward to next week being much easier and maybe providing a little bit of rest because this week has just been brutal. So anyways, thank you everyone for stopping by. Thank you for the birthday wishes. If you're interested in reading sprints, look for those next Thursday. I'm thinking that we'll be doing them around 1 or 2. I want to say I have them scheduled for 1, but we may just adjust that slightly. So hope to see you there. Hope everybody has a great week. Hope everyone is really productive with their reading. And thank you again, Trisha, for letting me know that I was on mute because I literally would have done this whole thing in silence had I not known. So have a happy rest of your Sunday, and I hope your week starts out great.